Step into a kitchen where the walls seem to whisper stories of early mornings, Sunday lunches, and quiet evenings spent sipping tea by the window. Sunlight spills across the worn wooden table, catching the soft folds of vintage gingham curtains as they sway gently in the breeze. This is not just a room, it's a feeling, a pause in time that honors the warmth of old-world charm and the gentle rhythm of home. Here at Vintage Touch Decor with Soul, we believe every utensil, every dish, and every fabric has a memory waiting to be noticed. The earthenware bowl on the counter, the chipped edge of a porcelain plate, the faded check of the gingham curtain, they all add a quiet kind of poetry to the space. This kitchen is proof that timeless design doesn't need to be perfect, it simply needs to feel lived in, loved, and deeply human. If this kind of cozy, nostalgic kitchen speaks to you, I invite you to stay with me and explore every detail of this French country kitchen. Press subscribe so you don't miss the home tours, styling tips, and decor ideas that follow, and give this video a like if you enjoy slow, cinematic journeys through vintage-inspired spaces. Leave a comment and tell me what you'd add to your own French country kitchen, and let's begin this decor story together. This French country kitchen feels like the soul of the home, where time slows down and every detail invites you to linger a little longer. The walls are soft, creamy tones, almost whispering against the warmth of the aged wood floor and the gentle check of the gingham curtains. Pale blue and cream tones dance together, giving the room a washed-over, slightly faded elegance that feels both refined and approachable. The cabinets are simple, with a hint of worn paint and delicate hardware that catches the light, while the open shelves tell a quiet story of collected dishes and mismatched cups. Imagine beginning your mornings here, pouring coffee into a handmade mug and watching sunlight trace patterns across the gingham tablecloth. This kitchen isn't about perfection, it's about the comfort of routine, the joy of cooking with natural light on your skin, and the pleasure of sharing a simple meal at this weathered wooden table. Hanging at the window, the vintage gingham curtains become the quiet heartbeat of this French country kitchen. Their soft checkered pattern in faded blue and cream filters the daylight into gentle squares that dance across the table and floor. Natural light wraps around the curtains, highlighting every tiny thread and subtle imperfection in the fabric, turning them into something quietly poetic. The way they sway ever so slightly, even when the air is still, gives the impression that time itself moves more slowly here. These curtains don't just block the sun, they shape the mood of the room, softening harsh light into something warm and forgiving. They invite you to pause, to sit at the table with a cup of tea, and to watch the day shift from bright morning to soft afternoon. At the center of the kitchen rests a table set with a quiet elegance that feels like a Sunday afternoon that never ends. A soft gingham linen tablecloth spreads gently across the worn wooden surface, its faded checks echoing the curtains at the window. Delicate floral patterns on the porcelain plates and a few chipped edges tell stories of years past and many hands that have held them. A small bouquet of dried lavender and wild roses sits in a milk glass jug, its muted tones blending softly with the cream and blue of the tablecloth. This table setting feels like a soft invitation to slow down, to notice the way light catches the rim of a porcelain cup or the tiny brushstrokes in a hand-painted pattern. The gingham fabric grounds the scene, while the vintage pieces add a quiet dignity, reminding us that beauty in the kitchen often lives in the ritual of sharing food, stories, and quiet moments among those we love. The cabinets of this French country kitchen wear their age like a badge of honor, softly chipped and gently worn in the corners. Creamy white doors with a hint of yellow undertone catch the daylight, while the wood frames reveal fine grain and subtle imperfections that speak of decades of use. Open shelves display a curated collection of vintage plateware, glass jars, and well-loved cookbooks, each piece placed with intention rather than perfection. Some plates are stacked haphazardly, others are carefully arranged, their patterns mingling in a soft, eclectic harmony that feels genuinely lived in. These cabinets aren't just storage, they are a quiet gallery of daily rituals, where every jar and dish tells a small, unspoken story. From the humble enamel pitcher to the stack of mismatched bowls, the shelves invite you to pause and appreciate the beauty of practical objects that have been used, cherished, and passed from hand to hand. Beneath every step lies a floor that seems to hum with the quiet stories of the kitchen's past. Wide, slightly uneven wooden planks, softened by years of wear, stretch beneath your feet, their honeyed tones glowing in the natural light. Over this, a soft vintage rug in a faded check or floral pattern nestles close to the table, its edges lightly frayed and its colors gently bleached by time. The pattern subtly echoes the gingham curtains and tablecloth, tying the room together without overwhelming the eye. As the light moves across the room, it traces invisible paths over the worn boards and the soft rug, turning the floor into a quiet canvas of texture and shadow. Along one wall, a set of open shelves becomes a quiet gallery of everyday treasures, each object chosen more for feeling than for perfection. Wooden brackets hold stacks of vintage plates, old glass jars filled with dried herbs, and a few mismatched mugs that seem to know their place by instinct. Some plates are stacked almost haphazardly, their patterns mixing in a way that feels joyful rather than messy, while a few favorite pieces are carefully placed at eye level, as if they are being honored. The edges of the shelves are slightly worn, marked by years of hands reaching for cups, jars, and cookbooks, their textures softened by time and touch. These shelves do not demand attention, they simply exist, calmly holding the objects that make this kitchen feel like a home. As the daylight begins to fade, the kitchen slowly transforms under a soft golden glow that feels closer to memory than reality. An old wrought iron chandelier hangs above the table, its glass pendants catching the faint light and casting gentle reflections on the gingham tablecloth below. The light doesn't shine too brightly, instead it wraps the room in a gentle haze, turning the worn cabinets and the checkered floor into something almost dreamlike. The faint scent of beeswax or dried herbs seems to linger in the air, mingling with the quiet hum of the house settling into evening. This gentle ambience turns the kitchen into a sanctuary, a place where time slows and the outside world feels a little further away. Nestled beside the window, a small breakfast nook carries the quiet charm of early mornings spent in slow, unhurried comfort. A wooden bench draped in a gingham cushion faces the window, its faded checks echoing the soft pattern of the curtains that frame the view beyond. The air in this corner feels softer, as if the room itself breathes a little slower here. The wood of the bench is slightly worn where someone has sat many times before, and the cushion shows the gentle imprint of countless mornings. This breakfast nook is not grand or elaborate. It is simply a place made for lingering, for watching the light move across the room and the trees outside sway in the breeze. This kitchen comes alive through its textures, where every surface feels chosen to be touched, noticed, and remembered. The gingham curtains, linen tablecloth, worn wooden cabinets, and softened upholstery each bring a different kind of warmth, creating a layered look that feels both graceful and comforting. The fabrics carry the story most clearly, with their faded checks, gentle wrinkles, and slightly uneven edges giving the space a lived-in beauty. A woven basket rests beside the table, a folded cloth napkin sits near a porcelain cup, and a rough ceramic vase adds contrast against the delicate patterns. In this kind of kitchen, texture becomes the language of comfort. It's the feeling of fabric brushing your fingertips, the warmth of wood beneath your hands, and the soft rustle of curtains moving with the breeze. Creating a French country kitchen like this doesn't require perfection. It only asks for a few thoughtful choices that honor the past while feeling entirely livable today. Start with a single pattern, like vintage gingham, and let it echo in your curtains, tablecloth, or cushions, then build around it with soft, creamy tones and natural wood. Mix in vintage pieces that have a slight history, whether they are chipped plates, mismatched teacups, or a worn enamel pitcher, and let them stand out through their imperfections. Place them on open shelves or around the table where their details can be noticed, but avoid the urge to fill every surface. Finally, lean into texture and soft light to complete the mood. Layer a rug under the table, add a few linen napkins or a woven basket, and allow candlelight or a simple lamp to warm the room at dusk. As we leave this French country kitchen behind, it stays with you less as a set of objects and more as a feeling of comfort and quiet belonging. The gingham curtains, the worn table, the stack of vintage plates, and the soft glow of candlelight all come together to form a space that feels deeply human, shaped by time and care. It's the kind of kitchen that doesn't insist on perfection. Instead, it invites you to sit, to linger, and to let the day unfold slowly around you. If you enjoyed this journey through a vintage gingham kitchen filled with soul and timeless charm, please take a moment to subscribe to Vintage Touch, Decor with Soul so you don't miss our future home tours and styling guides. A simple like and a comment letting me know what part of this kitchen you'd love to recreate in your own home will help us grow and keep sharing more stories of inspired, nostalgic decor. Remember, decor is never just about looks, it's about creating spaces that feel warm, familiar, and alive. Whether you bring a single gingham curtain into your kitchen or redesign an entire room around vintage textures and soft light, every choice becomes part of your own story at home. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next kitchen, the next porch, or the next cozy corner filled with vintage soul.